One of the things that people ask me quite a bit is, how does government play a role in the Wi-Fi ecosystem? We absolutely know that Wi-Fi has a part to play. Wi-Fi is more cost effective to install, more and more people have access to Wi-Fi, and it's an absolutely amazing medium for government to make internet access and connectivity available to a broad constituency. The question is how? How do we get that done? In my mind, there are a number of different models. The most obvious one is that governments spend the money. They build the network like they're an internet service provider, let's say for example like AlwaysOn, and they manage it. They give away free bandwidth and they just manage that from a cost point of view. There are two issues with that model. The first is government can never supply an endless supply of bandwidth to an end user, which means at some stage they have to cap it, which means end users will only be able to get a certain amount of bandwidth and no more. What we then need is a way to offer users the ability to make a payment to procure more off the back of that infrastructure. So the way this would work is an end user would know, I have X amount of data per day. That is provided to me by the government. It's well advertised, it's well known, I know where my bandwidth is coming from. But in that existing ecosystem, because the infrastructure is up and running, if I want to have access to a large amount of data, I can gain access to that by purchasing it through a for-profit company who is managing that as a profitable business, which needs to balance off costs with revenue generated, and you float that ecosystem on top of the government infrastructure. In that way, you can have the best of both worlds in my mind. You have the ability to provide, for government to provide an amazing service to their constituents, but you also have the ability to cap the cost of that and help cross-fund the cost of that through the commercial arrangement you have with private enterprise to manage that network for you. The service provider who's in partnership with government to try and monetize that can change. It's not something that's set in stone because government is control, it's their infrastructure, it's their assets. They can change that service provider at any time, and really what that service provider is there to do is to help government manage the costs of managing this sort of infrastructure so that they know what it is and the costs don't run away from them, as well as provide a better service to the end users so that when the free is depleted, they have the ability to buy at a reasonable rate through reasonable mechanisms that are valid to them more bandwidth for their consumption.